Before he was Genghis Khan, the great uniter, the world conqueror, he was just a boy named Temüjin. And we're about to dive into one single, absolutely brutal event from his youth. An event that didn't just define him, it literally forged him. Let's get into it.
So picture this, a vast, unforgiving wilderness. The wind is biting. Deep in the woods, two young boys are crouched down, completely silent, their bows drawn tight. They're focused. And they're not hunting a deer. They're hunting their own brother.
And that's really the question that hangs over this entire story. I mean, when you have absolutely nothing left, when you're pushed right to the edge, what are you capable of? For these boys, what was the real cost of just seeing the next sunrise?
Okay, so our story kicks off right at that breaking point, with an ambush deep in the forest.
The boys are Temüjin, yep, the future Genghis Khan, and his younger brother, Khasar. They're moving with this grim determination, their arrows aimed right at their older half-brother Begtar. The tension, you can imagine, is just unbearable. But to really get why this is happening, we need to understand the hunger that led them here.
It's just unthinkable, isn't it? To kill your own brother for what? A fish? A bird? This is where we have to hit rewind, because the answer, it turns out, isn't really about the food at all. It's about everything that happened before. So let's trace this path to total desperation. We need to see the chain of events that just threw this family into complete and utter chaos. First, their father, a respected clan leader, is poisoned by rivals. In an instant, their protector, their whole world, is gone. Then, their own tribe, they betray them. They see a widow and her children as a burden, so they just cast them out, leaving them to fend for themselves on the brutal Mongolian steppe. And that leads to the third, most relentless point, constant, gnawing hunger. Survival became a minute-by-minute, day-by-day fight. You have to understand, they weren't just poor, they were total outcasts. Every single scrap of food was the difference between living and dying. They were completely, utterly powerless. Now, with all of that as the backdrop, one tiny incident becomes the spark, the moment that ignites this whole tragedy. Okay, look at how this breaks down. Temüjin, the younger brother, manages to catch a single fish. Begtar, being the oldest and the strongest, just walks up and takes it. Sometime later, Temüjin hunts a bird. And again, Begtar just seizes it for himself. This wasn't about sharing or the oldest providing. No, this was a raw power play, an assertion of dominance. And that's the absolute crux of it. For Temüjin, this was the final straw. He lost his father, his tribe, his safety. He was not going to lose his dignity. He would not be dominated. And right then, he decided he would never, ever be powerless again. So now, with that in mind, let's go back to that moment in the woods. The hunt is on, and this time, we know why. Temüjin and Khasar stalk Begtar. There's no turning back. They corner him. Begtar sees the look in their eyes. He sees the arrows pointed right at his heart. He pleads with them, but it's way too late. The decision's been made. The arrows are loosed, and their brother falls. The silence of the forest is shattered, and a line is crossed forever. That one act, as brutal as it was, became the defining moment of Temüjin's entire life. It triggered a massive transformation inside him. Just remember where he started, right? A powerless, abandoned kid, literally left to starve by his own people. But on that day, in that forest, with that single, irreversible choice, something shifted. He became someone who would never again be at the mercy of others. The boy who was cast out would one day build an entire world that answered only to him. He would bow to no one, ever. So the huge takeaway here is that this was so much more than a murder. This was Temüjin's turning point. It's the moment that forged his iron will, the will to survive, the will to lead, and ultimately, the will to conquer. And it was all born from that one brutal decision to seize power for himself. And that leaves us with this one final kind of chilling question. Can you actually draw a straight line from the death of one boy in the wilderness to the birth of the largest land empire the world has ever seen? Was the ultimate price of that empire a single fish, a single bird, and a single brother?